All right, let's get right into this. Listen, if you're looking to build an impressive, powerful physique, whether you're a guy or a girl, the glutes are literally one of the single most important muscle groups you can target. I mean, building up this massive lower body powerhouse, it makes it immediately obvious that you actually lift. But here's the problem. With so much noise out there, it is so easy to get lost in the sea of gym myths and flashy, basically useless Instagram workouts. So today, in this explainer, we are cutting through all that BS. We're diving deep into the latest exercise science to optimize your lower body training for absolute maximum growth. We're going to separate the true S-tier heavy hitters from the complete time wasters. So I have a serious question for you. Are you wasting your time on the wrong exercises? Because you might be putting in a ton of effort at the gym, right? Sweating it out day after day. But if your exercise selection is off, you are leaving massive gains on the table. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down a strict, evidence-based ranking that will absolutely revolutionize how you approach leg day. But before we start ranking anything, we need to talk about this number, 3. Why 3? Well, despite what a lot of people think, your glutes are not just one big, single block of muscle. There are exactly 3 distinct glute muscles you actually need to hit if you want to build a truly impressive, well-rounded lower body. Let's break the anatomy down real quick. First, we have the gluteus maximus. This is the big one. It's the real powerhouse of your lower body, and its main job is extending your hips. Think of the movement you make when you lock out a deadlift. Then we have the gluteus medius. It's only about a third of the size of the maximus, but it is incredibly important. It sits right on the upper glutes, giving you that upper glute shelf, and it acts as a vital stabilizer during single leg exercises. Finally, the gluteus minimus. Half the size of the medius, but it plays a huge stabilization role and adds specific, targeted size to the upper glutes. Understanding this upper, middle, and lower division is exactly the roadmap we're going to use to target them.
Okay, so how are we ranking these? We're using 3 incredibly strict scientific rules for glute growth. Rule number 1, high tension. Specifically, the exercise has to provide a ton of tension when the muscle is stretched position. Rule number 2, it actually has to feel good. Look, if a movement is wrecking your knees, hips, or your lower back, it's out. And rule number 3, the holy grail, progressive overload. You absolutely must be able to add weight or reps over time, because if an exercise doesn't allow your glutes to get stronger, it's definitely not going to make them bigger. It really is that simple.
All right, section 1, the best exercises. These are your science-backed S-tier heavy hitters. Starting off extremely strong with machine hip abductions. Now, the crucial thing to know here is that this is the absolute number 1 undisputed S-tier exercise for isolating your upper glutes. It directly challenges the glute medius and minimus through their primary function, hip abduction, making it phenomenal for growth. And here is a major pro tip backed by biomechanics. Lean forward by about 30 degrees when you do these. Seriously, try it next time. It improves the line of pull for those upper glute fibers and gives you a significantly deeper stretch at the bottom of the movement. Plus, you can easily progress this just by pinning more weight on the stack. Next up, we have Romanian deadlifts, or RDLs. This is a high A-tier essential, and honestly, it is arguably the premier builder for the lower glutes and that whole glute hamstring tie-in area. So what makes the RDL such a beast? It absolutely smashes the gluteus maximus by putting it under a massive, heavily loaded stretch. And because it's a basic compound lift, it's basically tailor-made for progressive overload. You can just keep adding weight to the bar week after week, driving that crucial adaptation for serious muscle growth. Coming in next is the 45-degree back extension. Now, a lot of people mistakenly view this as just a lower back exercise. Actually, scratch that. Most people do. But because you're extending your hips here, your entire glute complex is highly active, both in the lengthened position at the bottom and the shortened position at the top. It is a wildly underrated S-tier movement. But here's the secret sauce. Deliberately round your upper back. Don't keep it perfectly straight. Rounding it prevents your lower back from taking over and ensures you're connecting entirely with those glutes. Okay, let's pivot for a second. We're moving into the good exercises. These are solid mass builders for sure, but they do come with a few slight drawbacks. Let's look at some data on hip flexion range of motion. The incredibly popular barbell hip thrust gets your glutes into about 90 degrees of hip flexion. Not bad, but the barbell squat, that takes you all the way down to 130 degrees. And science tells us that muscles respond exceptionally well to being trained in a deep, stretched position. So right out of the gate, you can see exactly why squats offer uniquely powerful hypertrophic stimulus that the hip thrust simply cannot match when it comes to depth. So let's compare these 2 legendary mass builders side by side. On the one hand, the barbell hip thrust is heavily researched, and it is absolutely phenomenal for isolating the middle glute med. You can safely add a ton of weight and push that progressive overload. The drawback? We all know it. It takes forever to set up, it awkwardly pinches your hips, and as we just saw, it lacks that deep stretch. On the other hand, the barbell squat gives you that amazing deep stretch. But the heavy quad stimulus means it completely fails to isolate the glutes. If your only goal is to grow a shelf without blowing up your quads, the standard barbell squat definitely has its limitations. But what if you could fix the glaring issues with the hip thrust? Enter the upgrade, the machine glute drive, like the Nautilus model, for example. This instantly rockets into the high A tier. Why? Because it completely eliminates that painful barbell pinching by using a comfortable, thick belt. It requires basically zero setup time, and it provides immense stability. Because you don't have to balance a heavy barbell on your lap, you can focus 100% of your mental energy on just engaging those middle glutes. It's a total game changer. All right, time to switch gears to the exact opposite end of the spectrum, the avoid tier. These are your D tier time wasters. Let's directly pit an absolute champion against a total time waster so you can see exactly why. Take walking lunges, an S+ tier movement. You get a massive stretch, full glute engagement across the upper, middle, and lower divisions, and it's practically built for progressive overload. Now, look at donkey kicks, a bottom tier D-level exercise. Why? Well, remember our 3 scientific rules? Donkey kicks offer virtually zero tension when the glutes are in a stretched position. Plus, trying to progressively overload them, even if you're messing around with a resistance band, is just incredibly inefficient. They fail the tension test completely. And listen, donkey kicks are not alone here. You should drop these other exercises from your hypertrophy routine immediately. Fire hydrants, way too low on tension. They are great if you're in physical therapy, doing rehab, but they are absolutely not for packing on mass. What about kettlebell swings? Fantastic for explosive power or getting your heart rate up for cardio for sure, but they are terrible for sustained tension and glute hypertrophy. And lateral banded walks. Again, virtually zero tension in that crucial stretched position. Sure, use them to warm up your hips, but please do not rely on them to actually build a glute shelf. So, how do we pull all this together? Let's train smarter, not harder. This is the ultimate application for your next gym session. I highly recommend grabbing a quick screenshot of this glute builder matrix. Seriously, save this to your phone. It breaks down exactly what the data suggests you need to do based on the specific area you're targeting. For the upper glutes, your absolute best bet is machine abductions. For the middle glutes, hit the machine glute drive for that super stable targeted hip extension. And for the lower glutes, focus on the deep, heavy stretch of walking lunges and RDLs. The real secret to optimal growth is combining these, mixing exercises that challenge the glutes in a shortened position with those that stretch them deeply under a heavy load. And this brings us to an incredible hot take from fitness expert Jeff Nippard. His deep analysis actually forms the entire backbone of this explainer. He says, if I had to just pick one, I think it would be the walking lunge. Honestly, it makes total sense. When you consider the massive stretch it provides, the balance requirement that fires up the upper glutes, and the ability to heavily, progressively overload it with dumbbells or a barbell, the walking lunge is undeniably the absolute, undisputed king of glute exercises. But I want to leave you with one final provocative thought before we wrap up. You absolutely cannot out-train a bad diet. We literally just spent this entire explainer optimizing the ultimate science-backed biomechanical routine for high tension and progressive overload. But listen to me, if you aren't eating the right number of calories and getting enough protein, your glutes literally do not have the raw materials they need to grow. All this gym science means absolutely nothing if your nutrition isn't dialed in. So ask yourself, are you fueling your body enough to actually support the S-tier work you're putting in on the gym floor? Get your calories right, pick the right exercises, and watch the growth happen. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.